Hey everybody, JP here, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. Today we are going to compare these two Black Lion Audio 1176 style FET compressors. And we're going to do this because I wanted to purchase one for myself, and I couldn't find a good comparison video. So I figured, well, I might as well make one. I reached out to a few different places to see if I can get some demo units, and nobody was really into that. So I just did it the old-fashioned way, and I paid for both of these myself. And I will most likely sell the one I like less than the other, unless I love them both. But we'll just have to go through this little journey together and see what the consensus is on that. Now I'm going to use these on some of my favorite places to use 1176s. I figured we'd try them out on the kick snare parallel bus, the mono kick snare bus that I like on drums. That's the Jim Scott, Rich Costi thing that we did a video on with plugins a few months ago. We're also going to listen to it on bass, and we're going to listen to it on vocals. We're going to check it out individually on vocals and then pair it up together like the Terry Date Dual 1176 vocal trick. So kind of like a three-part video here, and then we'll summarize our results later on. One thing I do want to talk about first is an interesting quirk on both of these compressors. If you're familiar with any 1176s, plug-in or hardware, you know that the attack and release controls work opposite most conventional compressors. The attack and release controls are the slowest when set to the left or counterclockwise, and the fastest when set to the right or clockwise. Now, what Black Lion Audio did was they made the attack control on these a little more conventional. They reversed it from the traditional 1176 to the more standard of fast to the left and slow to the right. So right now the attack controls are actually set to the slowest on the far right. But they left the release control the same as a stock 1176. So although it looks like both the attack and release are set the same, they're actually opposites here. That's the fastest release time and the slowest attack time. So yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm not sure what the rationale was behind that, but once you get used to it, it's a very easy thing to work around. I calibrated these with the tone generator, like I've done with plugins in the past, to get the same amount of gain reduction and the same output level. And as you see on the 17, or I'm going to refer to that as the Blackie, so Blackie and Bluey, the output needed to be turned up a bit to reach the same output level as the Bluey. Otherwise, very similar. This particular drum track we're using was performed by a great Nashville drummer named Jordan Perlson, who I will be collaborating with on a number of videos coming up. You might recognize the track when he starts to play it here, and we'll be going through this entire drum recording and mixing in an upcoming video. We're going to dive into all of the individual elements, but today, for our purposes, we're just going to kind of go right into the meat and potatoes of that mono submix. You know, for this kick snare parallel bus, we use 4-to-1 and 12-to-1 together, which is very easy to do on Blackie. You can just hit each one individually. It's a little tougher to do on Bluey. You have to hit both buttons at the same time. You have to hit them like just right. And if you hit another button, you lose the other two. So that's a little more tricky to play with. But why don't we give this drum track a listen and start doing some A-Bing. So that's our snare by itself. That's our kick snare parallel bus. I don't have as much kick going into it as I do snare, but there's a little bit of kick there. The kick just didn't need the help as much. The snare really needed a little smack to it. Now that's Blackie. Get that level up there. Really similar. I mean, calibrating definitely helps. I should mention the metering is a little different between them. The Bluey has a more consistent metering regardless of which ratio you're in or which pair of ratios you're in. Blackie gets a little weird when you start to combine the ratios. It sounds the same, it's just you can't really trust the metering ballistics when you go into that. From what I remember about some original 1176s, that was kind of the case for them. Just for fun, let's compare it to the UAD Blue Stripe plugin. Let's just get this set to the right level here. So that's the plugin. These were all calibrated for -7 gain reduction, and the output level was about -22 with the given sine wave. I think my sine wave was -20, yeah, -20. So that's Blackie, Bluey, and the UAD Blue Stripe. So I think it's, for this purpose, it's pretty easy to dial them both in to get the same thing happening. And in terms of how they work with the original snare, nope, hit two at once there. And I think in the overall mix, I would back these down just a little bit. Again, we're gonna go through all these drums soon in a video. But Jordan's playing and recording is just fantastic on this. So yeah, for this purpose, for this parallel submix, I would be really happy with either of them. I can't really say I have a favorite one over the other. I do think, again, being able to plug in the different ratios so easily on Blackie is really nice. It's just a little trickier. With any 1176, it is all about the lowest and highest ratio that you're pressing. So even on the all four buttons in mode, it's really about the bottom and the top. And you can do that here. There we go. See, it's a little tricky. And it doesn't matter that the middle buttons aren't in. In fact, let me solo that up for you. That's 12 to 1 by itself. That's 4 and 12 together. That's 4 and 20 together. Four and 12 together for this purpose really does sound best. I have to agree with Jim Scott, Rich Costi, and many others who have done that. But it's just a little easier to do on the Blackie. See, no difference whether you have that middle one in or not. And it is nice that both of these do have a mix control in the middle. I'm not a big user of that, but At least not on 1176s. I want to hear everything I'm doing on them coming through 100%. So yeah, very happy with either of these on drums. Like I said, I do think the Blackie, the 17, is just a little easier to get the ratios in and a little less error prone than the Bluey in terms of, pairing up some of the different combinations there. And now let's listen to some bass through these. This is our Dave Jerden bass. And one thing was interesting, I didn't have to do this on the drums, but when I put this on, I had to use the trim plugin to get a moderate level of gain reduction. I'm doing -10 on the trim. And if you watch the Bluey right now, if I bypass it, it's just slamming. My understanding is that both of these compressors have an input buffer that really does push the gain quite a bit. There's no way to bypass that in the units themselves. So something like this for a 10 dB pad, not a big deal to have on there. With the drums, we're going for such extreme compression anyway that didn't really feel like we needed it. And again, used the signal generator to calibrate both of these for the same amount of gain reduction with the same output level. So now we're on Blackie. Hear the extra aggression of Bluey. As you can see, I'm doing the switching on mutes. I'm using my S1 controller as opposed to soloing them like I did with the drums. I almost hear a more aggressive upper mid-range on Bluey, but a firmer bottom on Blackie. I should say slightly bigger bottom, but super tight as well on Blackie. And there's a little something going on in the upper mid-range on Bluey that I like. It's nice. I can see how this might be really nice on vocals for that reason. Blackie is slightly more scooped. Honestly, this is like the difference between a Blackface 1176 and a Blue Stripe. I'm really hearing it on this more than I was with the drums. But it is subtle. It's not night and day. And I'm on 8:1 ratio, by the way, for this. Well, I guess you can see it pretty clearly on Blackie, but I don't think you can really tell on Bluey. That's 4:1 for comparison. Eight to 1, 12:1, and 20:1. I like 8. 8's my favorite with this bass. And for the attack and release, this would look more like 10 and 2 on a traditional 1176. But because the controls are reversed here, they look like they're both at 2 o'clock. Slightly faster attack than we had on the drums, and a slightly longer release. I'd be very happy with either of these on bass. And this is something I would be using it for tracking. So yeah, another very close call. Again, the only real difference, you know, the Blackie, you can kind of feel the bottom a little bigger on, whereas Bluey, there's a little bit more of an upper mid-range thing happening. But let's see if that upper mid-range carries over to vocals. Let's do that next. All right, this is the Terry Date Dual 1176 vocal, and we're going to compare the two of these stacked on top of each other. This is the Blackie going into the Bluey. Blackie set at 4-1, Bluey at 8-1, with opposite attack and release controls. So this is the 10 and 2 on a traditional 1176, and then you swap them and you do 2 and 10 on the next. That's hands of a clock, that is, not actual numbers. Let's hear what we had going on with the plugins.
And answer myself, I crawl into myself, I crawl into myself. Living is just not enough, just not enough. I crawl into myself. Living is just not enough, just not enough. And answer myself, I crawl into myself, I crawl into myself. Living is just not enough, just not enough. Into myself, I crawl into myself, I crawl into myself. Living is just not enough, just not enough.
Really close with the plugins. So now I'm going to bypass the second 1176 and I'm going to bypass Bluey. And let's listen to that. So this is just Blackie.
Living is just not enough, just not enough. Into myself, I crawl into myself, I crawl into myself. Living is just not enough, just not enough.
So yeah, the output level of Blackie.
And into myself, I crawl into myself, I crawl into myself. Living is just not enough, just not enough. Into myself, I crawl into myself.
There we go.
I crawl into myself. Living is just not enough, just not enough.
Once I got the output levels balanced, I think I prefer the Black Lion to the UA on that. Now let's compare the other ones. So now we're going to bypass Blackie and turn on Bluey.
Not enough. Into myself, I crawl into myself, I crawl into myself. Living is just not enough, just not enough.
So that's a closer match to the UAD.
Into myself, I crawl into myself, I crawl into myself. Living is just not enough, just not enough. Into myself, I crawl into myself, I crawl into myself. Living is just not enough, just not enough.
So now I'm directly comparing Blackie and Bluey.
And into myself, I crawl into myself, I crawl into myself. Living is just not enough, just not enough. Into myself, I crawl into myself, I crawl into myself. Living is just not enough, just not enough. And into myself, I crawl into myself, I crawl into myself. Living is just not enough, just not enough. Into myself, I crawl into into myself, crawl into myself. Living is just not enough, just not enough.
I gotta say, I do really like the fact that Blackie has these two sidechain filters, 200 hertz and 100 hertz, and I just played with them a little bit, actually for the first time. I wish Bluey had them. I think if Bluey had the sidechain filters, it would be a clear winner on vocals. I'd been favoring Blackie throughout this whole process so far until vocals, and Bluey, I could see why Chris Lord Alge likes his blue stripe so much on vocals, and that's exactly what the Bluey 500 is based on. Let's listen to that again.
I crawl into myself, I crawl into myself. Living is just not enough, just not enough.
Yeah, that is nice.
And into myself, I crawl into myself, I crawl in.
You know, it's too bad. I see what Black Lion Audio did by going with the metering options that an actual 1176 would have, but I really wish this had those two sidechain filters instead. And I also wish that the ratio controls were as easy to pop in and out as Blackie, as the 17. You almost wish they would make one unit with the best of both in them. And hey, Black Lion Audio, if you're watching this, maybe something to think about for the future. Yeah, I really like both of these. I'm gonna have to give a lot of serious thought to which one. I'd been leaning towards the 17 just because it costs a little bit less. It's like $200 less. But now hearing the Bluey by itself on vocals, it's tougher. Tougher to figure out. Why don't you guys let me know what you think? I'm really curious to see what you all think of this. And this is my first little hardware outboard review comparison. So yeah, let me know how I did. And yeah, hopefully we could do some more of these in the future. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it. Talk soon.